The verdict in the Hunter Biden case comes in the middle of his father's presidential reelection campaign, and just 2 weeks after the presumptive Republican nominee, Donald Trump, was found guilty on 34 felony counts in his hush money criminal case.
To unpack what all of this means politically, we're joined now by our White House correspondent, Laura Barone-Lopez. Laura, let's start with President Biden. Have we heard anything in the way of a response from him publicly? And also, what are you hearing from people close to him?
We have a response from President Biden. He issued a statement today that reiterates much of his past comments on the matter. In a statement, President Biden said that quote, "I will accept the outcome of this case and will continue to respect the judicial process as Hunter considers an appeal. Jill and I will always be there for Hunter and the rest of our family with our love and support. Nothing will ever change that." I spoke to a Democratic lawmaker close to the president, Amna, and they said that essentially President Biden has approached this as in two distinct roles: as a father who is trying to support his son and comfort his son and make sure that he continues on the path of recovery, but also as a president who needs to respect the judicial system, respect the rule of law, and show that he is not involved in this whatsoever, and this is an independent matter. And then I also spoke to a longtime aide to President Biden, former aide, who said that this has been weighing on President Biden as well as Jill Biden when it comes to the fact that it could have an impact. This verdict could have an impact on Hunter Biden specifically, and whether or not he is able to maintain his recovery. There's concern about a potential relapse. And so Jill Biden was there at the courtroom, in the courtroom for much of the trial, showing not just a public display, but trying to show Hunter that she was there for him personally.
What about the response from former President Trump, from Republican lawmakers, many of whom we saw decry the justice system after former President Trump's conviction? What have we heard today?
A campaign spokesperson for President Trump issued a statement saying, quote, "This trial has been nothing more than a distraction from the real crimes of the Biden crime family. Biden's reign over the Biden family criminal empire is all coming to an end on November 5th. Again, repeating baseless accusations against President Biden, claiming that he was involved in his son's business dealings overseas, which there has been no evidence to support those claims from former President Trump as well as other Republicans. It's important to note, Amna, the difference between the way Republicans reacted to the verdict in Trump's New York case versus the way Democrats have reacted to the Hunter Biden verdict. And that's that Republicans called the system rigged when the verdict came down and said that they ultimately thought that there was a conspiracy theory. Democrats, by comparison, have said that the judicial process needs to be respected.
Laura, what are you seeing in your reporting in terms of how voters are watching this trial, whether it matters to them?
Multiple Democratic lawmakers and pollsters I spoke to said that they don't think this is going to have an impact. Biden's campaign doesn't think that this will have a seismic impact on the 2024 election. When it comes to voters, the ones that I've talked to, as well as the ones that I've witnessed in focus groups, they don't connect Hunter Biden's actions to President Biden. Oftentimes they'll say things like, Hunter isn't president, or they'll express sympathy for Hunter's addiction history and say that they've also experienced drug addiction in their family. And so polling bears this out as well, Amna, which is that a majority of voters in polls have said that this doesn't impact who they decide to vote for president.
It's our White House correspondent, Laura Barone-Lopez. Laura, thank you.
Thank you.